Yeah. All right. The time is now 6:03, and the May 12th, 2026 Kingsport City Schools Board of Education regular business meeting is now called to order. It's nice to see everybody. Welcome. Dr. True, you have some special guests with us.
We do. Thank you very much, sir. And we want to welcome everyone, whether you're viewing us online tonight or if you're here in the Tennessee room. It's always great to have a full house for a board meeting, especially when we have an opportunity tonight to honor so many great students and their accomplishments. I'm going to ask Chase Howard to come up at this point. He's going to help me with the pledge. And Chase, as you come up, you have had a busy day from what I understand. Tell us a little bit about your day today.
So today was our graduation at Northeast State. I graduated with the other middle college students with an Associates of Science in the Humanities Department.
So I'm sure your experience, probably, how many graduates today do you remember off the top of your head? Putting you on the spot.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Okay. So what led you to go down that road, to do something that incredible that before you even graduate from high school, you have an associate's degree?
So I've always been wanting to figure out how to expand my learning. I'm planning to continue college well after my associates. I'm planning to go all the way to my doctorate. So I saw it as an opportunity. I understood that I could take the more rigorous courses, and I saw it as an opportunity to get a head start on my college career.
Well, you've certainly done that, obviously, and what you have exhibited in the persistence to go ahead and do that now, I'm sure sets you up well. You talked about going to the doctorate. A doctorate do you have thoughts on that at this point, what you want to do?
So I'm hoping on getting a doctorate in epidemiology or biostatistics.
We will all work for you one day. So, well, congratulations, and thank you for taking part of what has been a full day to wrap it up here in the board meeting to do the pledge. We're going to invite everybody to go ahead and stand, and right over here, Chase, whenever you're ready.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Thank you, Dr. True. Thank you, Chase. At this time, I will ask for a motion to accept the agenda, which includes the consent agenda. Once the agenda is accepted, the board mutually agrees not to discuss any item of business or take any action on any item that has not been accepted for the agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second. Motion carries. Ms. Jackson, start us off with recognitions. And this is why we do what we do. That's why we open the doors every day to recognize our students.
Yes, this is very exciting. Thank you for your patience there. I had to do a little tiny bit of housekeeping. All right, I get to start us off with a very exciting congratulations to the Northeast State Community College Post-Secondary Technical Certificates and Middle College Academy graduates. So I just want to make sure you can all hear me really well. I guess that's just for the recording. All right, so I would like to recognize 12 seniors from Dobyns-Bennett High School and DBXL that through a partnership with Northeast State Community College that have earned their degrees in their career and technical programs, they have had the unique opportunity to earn post-secondary technical certificates alongside their high school diplomas. And you know, I'm tripping over it because it still is just amazing to me that you can actually graduate college before you graduate high school. And not just in this like once in a lifetime thing. I'm going to honor 29 students tonight. So sorry for the excitement and the overwhelm. But we do have 60 students that have completed their certificates with Northeast State, and this credential empowers these students to launch careers in high-demand technical fields and enter the workforce with a head start. We would like to recognize these students who have completed certificates in, these are all the areas, combination welding, HVAC, entrepreneurship, and emergency medical technician. These individuals will be honored during the Northeast State Community College commencement prior to graduating Dobyns-Bennett. So as I call their names, I know we're all going to be cheering them on. If you would let me get through each section, and then we'll cheer them all together. The first section is for combination welding. These certificate graduates are Joey Dodson from DBXL, Daniel Sinite from Dobyns-Bennett High School. I apologize if I say any of your names incorrectly. And if you'll come up and receive your certificate, and we'll line up right in front. So Joey and Daniel, if you'll come on up. Evan Reyes from Dobyns-Bennett High School. Nathan Fields from Dobyns-Bennett High School, Dusty Dean Jr. from Dobyns-Bennett High School, Jordan Slimp from Dobyns-Bennett High School, Jordan Weatherly, Dobyns-Bennett High School, and Logan Broadwater from Dobyns-Bennett High School. Congratulations. If you guys will all stay up just for a second. If you guys will all stay up just for a second, we're going to grab a picture. Do you want me to go back and forth and do? You want to do? Let's do all the pictures at the end. Would that work? Okay. So if you guys will stay kind of close, we'll get the welding, and then we'll just kind of do it, all the pictures together for efficiency. HVAC certification graduate goes to Zane Austin, Dobyns-Bennett High School. Entrepreneurship certificate graduate, Nevaeh Hartsock, Dobyns-Bennett High School. Emergency medical technician certificate graduates are Cora Houlihan, Dobyns-Bennett High School, Augustine Merritt, Dobyns-Bennett High School. All right, so we'll do these, and then I'll go to the middle college. So girls, if you'll come this way, we'll grab a picture. All right, we will continue. I would love to recognize 17 Dobyns-Bennett seniors that are recent as of today, Middle College Academy graduates with associate degrees from Northeast State Community College. Here's a little overview of the Northeast State Middle College Academy. Students must have, I won't go into all the details, but they must have fabulous grades. They must, they've also completed dual enrollment classes taught at Dobyns-Bennett High School and Kingsport Center for Higher Education, as well as coursework. They've had the opportunity to pursue and earn an Associates of Science General TBR transfer degree from Northeast State Community College. Basically, this degree essentially allows students to complete general education core requirements at the college level while also using dual enrollment coursework to complete many of their final high school graduation requirements. So there's a lot that goes into this degree. I myself got an Associate of Science degree from Northeast State, so I know how much that had to have been a lot of hard work while you were still in high school, so I'm really impressed. Those that are receiving this degree, I will call your name if you will please line up and receive your certificate from Mr. Golden, and then we will applaud at the end and grab a photo. Abraham Athey, DBXL. Elena Bailiff, DBXL. Nancy Luster Barnett, DBXL. Riley Compton, DBXL. Oh, I'm going so fast, it's hard for you to keep up who's, okay, I'm sorry. Maggie Dunworth, DBXL. Elijah Hayes, DBXL. Chase Howard, DBXL. Colt Lark, DBXL. Alexander McCarthy, DBXL. Ziva Nichols, DBXL. Lucas Bowman, Dobyns-Bennett High School. Stone Collier, Dobyns-Bennett High School. Tyler Gay, Dobyns-Bennett High School. Alyssa Mann, Dobyns-Bennett High School. Emma Martin, Dobyns-Bennett High School. And Rylan Moore, Dobyns-Bennett High School. The student receiving the Associate of Science General TBR Transfer Graduate Degree, Jasmine Coleman, Dobyns-Bennett High School. Thank you for the opportunity to honor your graduates.
for those of you that for those of you that came out, thank you for coming. Congratulations on your awards and your achievements. Again, this is exactly why we open the doors of our schools every single day, and just being able to recognize each and every one of you is it's really a privilege. As I start reading, when these four individuals hear your name, please come and stand up front to be recognized. High school students from across the state gathered in Nashville on March the 3rd, 2026, to express their views on public education in Tennessee at the Tennessee School Boards Association Student Congress on Policies in Public Education, otherwise known as SCOPE Conference. The event took place on the campus of Belmont University. Dobyns-Bennett High School seniors Emery Korpstein, Jackson Heron, Andrea Gordon, and Piper Osterhus participated in the event, along with SCOPE chaperone and Dobyns-Bennett social studies teacher, Mr. Joshua French. Now in its 43rd year, SCOPE is designed to give students a voice where public education issues are concerned and to involve young people in finding solutions to topics that are discussed. Attendees participated in mock school board sessions where they assumed the roles of school board members, school officials, parents, students, and concerned citizens. During the afternoon, students had a policy debate session led by school board members and superintendents from across the state. SCOPE delegates also elected officers for SCOPE 2027. Again, congratulations to these participants. Emery Korpstein. Sorry. Jackson Heron.
Who is going to state in tennis tomorrow, right? Good luck. Mr. Heron, who is a Roan Scholar. Andrea, who's going to be dancing at the University of South Carolina. And Piper, who has been the student participant on the KCS Foundation Board. Yeah, these slackers, I'm telling you. Wish we had some high-quality students here tonight. Congratulations, all of you.
Tonight, I have the distinct honor to recognize one
Philip.
of KCS's...
Dr. Marshall.
Yeah.
Hang on just a second.
What is it?
I apologize.
They're actually going to give us a little summary.
Oh, okay.
Let's try it again. Okay, now you can do it. You've got the clickers? Yep. Okay, perfect. It's run into a problem and needs to reboot. 45% something's what it keeps coming up and saying.
Right. Yeah, that's fine.
I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
Just slide up and down right there.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea Gordon, and I'm going to start out by talking about the first topic that all groups talked about at the SCOPE conference. The first topic of debate was, should funding be moved from art to CTE? Many students had different opinions on this topic. Many said that art wasn't as important anymore and that many more kids were taking CTE classes. And some said that arts were still important to many kids, and it's why many kids still came to school, and that's why we shouldn't have moved funding from arts to CTE. And although everybody had different opinions, different ideas, and it was truly amazing to see how different students thought in their brains about it. My group came up with the idea to not move funding from arts to CTE because it was so important to multiple kids. And we came up with the idea that we could find funding from other things like football tickets or sports tickets, taking a certain percentage out of those and moving them to arts and CTE. And that was something that was very popular among my group and a bunch of the other groups. However, I know some of the other groups decided to move it because they thought that CTE was more important to many students. And that was the first debate topic that we talked about. And the second debate topic that we all had, there was 4 debate topics in total, but the one that we had was that all students shall be required to participate in at least one extracurricular activity, either 4-H, chess club, sports, or beta club, etc. per year. And I'm gonna have Piper tell you a little bit about the pro section of that.
So requiring all students to participate in at least one extracurricular would yield academic, social, and future career benefits for students. Extracurricular involvement would help students with time management, it would increase their school engagement, and it would help them in, I forgot, I'm sorry. Additionally, extracurricular involvement it provides an outlet for students to build their confidence and learn how to work with others through communication, as well as building new friendships along the way. Participation in these extracurriculars would help students in their future careers and in college because I'm so sorry, guys.
There's the.
There you go.
Okay, thank you.
It would be easier to see from there.
Yeah. Because it develops leadership skills, critical thinking skills, and problem-solving skills. Additionally, this policy would provide a unique opportunity for students to engage in their interests outside of their core classes, allowing them to reach their full potential.
Then both mine and Emery's groups were arguing against the measure. So it was very interesting because you were assigned your arguments. You didn't get to choose. It's important to realize we weren't arguing against extracurriculars, but against mandating them. So we developed 4 points largely that we felt kind of summed up the biggest problems with that issue. And the first was that too many kids and teens in high school have to support their families. So 45% of teens are already in the labor force, and 1/4 of Tennessee children live in homes that require public assistance. So mandating extracurriculars could mean less hours students could work. The second is unnecessary additional pressure. So studies have shown this is already one of the most anxious and depressed generations, and that there's been an argument that forcing extracurriculars, not just extracurricular involvement, but forcing it would actually cause grades to suffer because of added anxiety and depression. And the third point is that regulation isn't the best way. It's a definitional argument. So if something is forced upon students, it ceases to be extracurricular, it becomes curricular. So it's just an elective class at that point because you're requiring it. So if you want something to be extracurricular, have it be an extracurricular, have students be able to choose it. If you want it to be curricular, just change the curriculum. And then the fourth was financial barriers, that many extracurriculars, I know band has funds tied to them. And that can stop students from enjoying those as well. So you have to take into account each student, just not the general populace. Thank you.
So this topic that Jackson and Piper just outlined was one of the 4 debate topics, so we already went through those. So there were 16 different groups, and each group elected a delegate to speak about this, about the viewpoint that was assigned. So there were 16 total delegates. Since there were 4 topics, delegates 1 through 4, there were 2 pros and then 2 con viewpoints. And after everyone finished their deliberations, we all headed into this auditorium where the different viewpoints were able to be put on display. So you had, for the first debate topic, you had people arguing pro and then people arguing con, and then after each debate was concluded, everyone in the auditorium was allowed to vote. We were able to send a text message according to whatever we deemed was the appropriate viewpoint, whatever appealed to each of us, and they were able to collect the data in real time. So we were able to see what everyone in the audience, after talking about all these topics and being assigned a viewpoint, we were able to see what everyone really thought. And after all that happened, basically all of the debate topics, all of the topics, they were rejected except for the third one, which was students shall have the option of substituting club sports like kickball, club soccer, water polo for physical education requirements. I honestly didn't think it was going to be that one, but it's what everyone else thought. But overall, after we concluded and we talked about all this, it was just really an amazing way to see how educational policy develops. And I'm definitely not alone in saying this. We all thank you so much for giving us this opportunity to learn how all this policy unfolds. And, the students are the most affected by it. So I think this whole SCOPE conference is a really good thing. And, I think it'll hopefully continue in the future. So thank y'all so much.
Thank you.
Do we hit a button?
Yeah, just hit the speak button.
All right. Now, I get to honor tonight an educator from our district. Antonia Adinolfi is a chemistry and STEM teacher at DBXL. She graduated from ETSU with a Bachelor of Science in Biological Sciences and a Master's in Public Health, and also holds a master's degree in initial teacher licensure from LMU. Over the course of her career, she has taught a variety of science courses at DBXL and currently teaches chemistry and advanced STEM applications, including STEM 1, 2, and 3. Her classroom emphasizes project-based, career-connected learning experiences that encourage creativity, collaboration, and problem solving. In addition to her classroom instruction, Antonia coached the first Mate Rove underwater robotics team in Tennessee and led her students to both the regional and international competitions in Seattle, Washington, where the team received recognition for their innovative hydraulic system. She currently serves as the Key Club Advisor for DBE and is part of the TSIN and ETSU Regional STEM Network Collaborative and STEM Educator Employee Workforce Group, and continually seeks opportunities to connect students with leadership experiences, community engagement, and real-world industry applications. As a strong advocate for STEM for all, Ms. Adinolfi believes STEM is not simply a collection of academic subjects, but a mindset rooted in innovation, critical thinking, collaboration, and problem solving. Through her work, she strives to create meaningful experiences that prepare students for future careers while helping build a strong pipeline between education and local industry. At this time, I'd like for Mr. Melson, Tony Melson, to come up from the Julia C. West Foundation and do your thing.
Thank you very much. Chairman Fletcher, Madam Vice Chairman, Dr. Hampton, members of the board, thanks for having us. I just want to take about a minute or two and tell you about Miss Julia, and before we make this prestigious award. Many of you may remember Miss Julia as being a prominent attorney, law partner, and co-owner of West and Rose Attorneys at Law, but I'd like you to know a little bit more. During her 85 years of life, she had three great passions in her life. It was her God, her family, and her community. And within community, the three great passions were education, the arts, and animal welfare. And upon her passing, she gave significant resources to this trusted board of directors with me tonight, represented by Board Vice Chairman Abby Kilgore, Board Secretary Ms. Becca Wright, and First Chair, past Chair, the Honorable S. Curtis Rose. And we've, since inception, we have made gifts and commitments totaling almost $300,000 to include, if you've been paying attention, a legacy sponsorship to the Dobyns-Bennett High School Band. This past Monday, we presented a check to the Robinson Middle School Band. At DB Awards Day, we presented the first ever Julia C. West Scholarship to Ms. Taisha Turner. On Thursday, we will present to the Kingsport City Schools Inclusive Athletics. I hope what you're hearing is that we don't consider ourselves, and we don't fashion ourselves so much as philanthropists as we do partners in our common mission. Miss Julie was all about education, and we want to partner with you to educate today's kids, tomorrow's leaders. So this is where Miss Antonia comes in. Miss Antonia, Miss A, Miss A found out about the Julia C. West Foundation and approached me directly. She had us down to DBXL, showed us her amazing classroom, and the passion and the love for these kids just exuded from her. She explained to me that due to budgetary restraints, I know that all of you are good stewards of our taxpayers' money, so thank you very much. But there was a constraint, and she needed some help with some equipment, a laser cutter and a router inside the classroom that is the crossroads of two of our missions, education and the arts. She runs a wonderful digital arts curriculum right inside her classroom, so teaching kids about digital arts and then takes those to fruition by making physical products. I think Judd Rose's daughter, Emma, was the beneficiary of one of those spelling bee trophies. Miss A's classroom made those, Judge. And so the need was presented to us that she needs a laser cutter and router, and when the board heard this, it was a unanimous and immediate vote to approve this check. Judge, Abby, Becca, if you don't mind helping. Miss A and Miss Cohen, would you mind joining as well? Presenting this check to DBXL and Miss A's science classroom for $9,804. Dr. Hampton, would you mind? Yeah, let's go again.
Thank you, Ms. Adinolfi. At this time, we'll give the audience a minute or two to dismiss themselves. If you are done with the recognition, we'll proceed with unless you want to hang around for some business. Give you just a couple minutes. Now is the time for any person wishing to address the Kingsport Board of Education during the public comment portion of the regular board meeting to have an opportunity to sign up immediately prior to the 6 p.m. meeting. Prior notification of intent to speak is not necessary, but recommended. Per Kingsport City Schools Board policy, public communications at board meetings, those who have signed up to speak may do so for up to 3 minutes. Before addressing the board, the speaker shall state his or her full name and address, including zip code. The public comment period will last no more than 30 minutes in total, unless the board waives the limitations upon considering a request for extension made prior to the president's announcement for public input. Anybody wishing to speak? Nope. Mr. Fry.
Thank you. Good evening. So I have several items for your consideration tonight. First one.
Ran into a problem and needs to reboot. And it keeps cutting off on me. We'll probably have to do a regular vote if it's gonna keep giving. It's every time. Yeah, probably. But it starts over and I've got to log into the computer and then get back into the software.
We're having technical difficulties, sorry.
So the first item I have for your consideration, sort of kind of following up on recognitions, and is a donation that we have received technically from the Kingsport Education Foundation, but these funds have been donated $500,000 from Mr. and Mrs. Bharti and Natu Patel. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. They have donated these funds to Kingsport City Schools to assist our teachers in expanding professional learning opportunities, providing stipends for highly effective teachers and who mentor other educators, offering teacher-driven grants for instructional materials and technology. The district also upgrades science and STEM tools and set aside funds for enrichment, recognition, and school support initiatives. This is it's anticipated that these funds will probably be spent over the next 5 years. But I know on the consent agenda, you had some donations that were on the consent agenda, which is part of our quarterly routine type donations, but we wanted to put this one on on your business items. It was such a large donation and give the Patels recognition. So I would recommend that the Board of Education approve the acceptance of this donation.
Any questions, comments?
I'll just say I had the opportunity to meet Mr. Patel. It was really kind of a, I may not supposed to say this, but a God wink that I was actually in Charleston, South Carolina visiting my kids and got a phone call. And it was actually from Mr. Patel, who lives in Charleston, South Carolina now, and was able to have coffee with him and really thank him for his willingness to make this type of generous donation. He has 2 children who both went through Kingsport City Schools, and he really just wanted to give back to an education system that gave so much to his own children. They both are highly successful, and he keeps up with Kingsport City Schools. And of course, I took the opportunity to bring him up to date on some of the wonderful things that are happening, and hope to continue to have a relationship with Mr. Patel, he and his wife. And Dr. Hampton and Dr. Tate both kind of pitched in on some goodies, and we did a goodie basket for him at Christmas time, and they were just overwhelmed with the gratitude. And so I want to thank Mr. Fry and also Elaine Bodenweiser for her assistance in getting this done. But great family, and just so grateful for the work that's going on in Kingsport City Schools then and now.
The recommended action is to accept the donation of $500,000 from the Kingsport City Schools Education Foundation. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Motion passes.
Next item I have for you is the approval of purchase of textbooks. This is for a 3-year purchase through Houghton Mifflin Harcourt into Reading Literacy Program, subscription for our elementary schools. The purchase will be made through the Tennessee Book Company, which is the official state Tennessee book depository and distributor. The total purchase price will be $277,200 for the 3-year subscription. And by entering into the 3-year subscription as opposed to doing it 1 year at a time, that represents a savings of $58,540. There are funds currently identified in the current year budget of $87,800. And with the approval of the FY27 budget, there is $189,400 in that in next year's budget. We will also recommending issuing a blanket purchase order to Tennessee Book Company for FY27 for $275,000, which will cover the $189,000 for the purchase of these books, and then there's purchase of other books that will come up during the year also. So recommend the purchase of the Into Reading and Literacy program for $277,000 and a FY27 blanket purchase order to Tennessee Book Company for $275,000.
Any discussion, questions? No. The recommended action is to approve the purchase of a 3-year Houghton Mifflin Harcourt Into Reading Literacy program subscription for elementary schools from Tennessee Book Company for a purchase price of $277,200 and issuing a blanket order in fiscal year 2027 to Tennessee Book Company for $275,000 to cover the remaining literacy program cost, other textbook freight costs, and consumables. Is there a motion to accept?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Motion carries. Next.
Next item is the approval of beverage pouring rights and advertising partnership. Requests for proposals were opened on April 2nd, 2026. Current vendor Pepsico and Coca-Cola Consolidated submitted proposals. After evaluating submitted proposal, the administration desires to enter into a 3-year agreement with Pepsico for the non-alcoholic beverage pouring rights and advertising partnership for Kingsport City Schools. All funds paid and received regarding the agreement will be from the high school and middle school's internal school funds. Recommended that the Board of Education approve a motion to enter into a 3-year agreement with PepsiCo.
Just out of curiosity, what's the difference in cost?
I really don't have that information with me. I apologize. We can get that to you.
I'm a Coke guy, and I'm just curious. Honestly.
I was about to ask. I was like, I'm here.
The recommended action is to enter into a 3-year agreement with PepsiCo for the non-alcoholic beverage pouring rights and advertising partnership with Kingsport City Schools. Is there a motion to accept?
Second.
Okay. Motion carries. Mr. Fry.
Next item is our 6th budget amendment of the year. I traditionally do a budget amendment at the Board of Education's May board meeting. A lot of this is a kind of a cleanup end of the year budget amendment. But then there are a couple of other things in here also. So number 1 item is funding for our summer learning camps. We just received notice that we're going to be getting $895,141 to fund this year's summer learning program. It's for K-8. They don't fund the high school summer school program. That is funded with our ARR money, which is in our regular budget. But this will cover teachers, teacher assistants, special education teachers and teacher assistants, nursing services, counseling services, and then some administrative and secretarial services. It also provides funding for transportation to provide transportation from home to school. We're going to be operating 3 locations this summer, and I know one of them is severe. Dr. Hampton, you may have to help me, or
I think we're probably going to depend on Dr. Flora Summer school locations.
Jefferson, Johnson, Jackson.
And Sevier.
Thank you.
And Sevier,
Sorry.
okay. Jefferson, Johnson, and Jackson. Item one would be amending our budget for other state education funds and various salary, benefit, and supply accounts for a total of $895,141.
That includes breakfast and lunch also? Is that correct?
There is meals provided with this program,
Okay.
although it's probably not going to be provided with these funds, because it'll be provided from our school nutrition services, and they get reimbursed through the USDA federal lunch program for the number of breakfast and lunches that they
Okay.
serve.
Great.
So
As long
they
as
will
it's reimbursed,
They will
yeah.
be operating that. They'll be operating out of Sevier Middle School and satelliting those meals out to the other three locations. The next item is concerning the Dobyns-Bennett renovation project. The next item on your agenda is the approval of the bid for that project. But the main thing in this item is that we had intended to fund a smaller project at Dobyns-Bennett independent of this project. And that was the replacement of the stairs that go from the old science pod, what we now refer to as the annex pod. It's the upper pod on the east side of the building. And those stairs, there's two sets of concrete stairs that go off of that floor down to the back driveway or alleyway, if you would. And it's out where the cooling tower is and goes into there. Those concrete stairs are 50 years old now, and so we're not using them. The concrete is chipping and chipping away, and we've put tape around those, and we're not allowing students to use those. They're just not safe for student use, and so we haven't been using those. We were going to do that as a standalone project, but when we got into it and worked with the architect, we've decided that we were going to fold that into this renovation project. We had identified $150,000 in our current operating CIP account to fund this project. And we haven't spent those monies on anything else. And so what we want to do is we want to move those monies out of our operating budget and transfer that $150,000 over into the Dobyns-Bennett renovation project. In addition to that, we've identified some other funds in our operating budget, $20,000 in our technology budget, $20,000 in the Dobyns-Bennett allocation for their non-instructional equipment budget, $50,000 in our fixtures, furniture, and equipment budget, and $30,000 additional dollars in our CIP budget that we want to allocate to this Dobyns-Bennett renovation project, which will give us a little bit more flexibility and maybe addressing some of the alternates that we'll talk about in a minute. But that is a total of $270,000 that we're moving out of our current year FY26 general purpose school fund budget over to the Dobyns-Bennett renovation project. The third item on here, and I will, if you want me to run through and talk about each one of these 6 or 7 different minor transfers within school allocation, school accounts, that they're just moving funds around to try and wrap the year up. One of them has to do with curriculum instruction, moving some funds around in order to fund the textbooks that we just talked about. So those are the 3 items that are concerned with our general purpose operating budget. The other 2 items on here have to do with our grant funds. So our federal projects fund was originally approved when we approved the budget a year ago, was approved for $6,028,161. Since that time, there have been, and a lot of those numbers as tonight, when you approve your federal projects budget, we don't know the final numbers for some of those grants. We don't know what our final Title I allocation is going to be for next year. We didn't know what it was going to be for 26 at this time last year. So a lot of this is adjusting those, I'll say, estimated amounts. Some of them may have been based on previous year allocations, but our estimated amounts to what we now know are the final amounts. There were also 4 additional grants received: special education, systematic change preschool grant for $72,185, a literacy materials implementation grant for $100,000, literacy pre-K teacher stipend grant for $21,000, and preschool development grant for $10,000. That's a total of $203,185 in additional grants, and the changes in the other grants resulted in a net decrease of $220,706. And you can see that the Title I, the Title II, and the IDEA Part B special education grant made up the bulk of those decreases. So we're actually decreasing the total appropriation for the federal projects fund budget by $17,521. Then we have our school special projects fund, which was originally approved for $1,158,720. There are 5 new grants in this fund: Advancing Mental Health, $5,000, the ETSU Gear Up grant for $122,835. I'm placing the Patel donation into this fund for $500,000, and it'll be in this fund until we spend all those monies. You know, it'll last for multiple years. Public School Security Grant for $152,176, and a Tennessee Tutoring Innovation Grant for $74,600. That's total addition to this fund of $854,611. And again, some of the original grant amounts have changed, which is a decrease of $9,641, which will make the final amended budget for the School Special Projects Fund of $2,003,690. Then one final item on this budget amendment is concerning with the city's general project fund, but within that fund is where, excuse me, is where we is where we account for all of our capital projects. And we have several projects that are older projects that are now completed that have some monies that are left over. Generally, you know, you're all familiar with, we always establish a 6% contingency on projects. I will usually put a little bit of extra money in our projects in case there's some miscellaneous expenses or something. So all of these projects have funds remaining that could be transferred back to the original funding source, and the main funding source of all these projects is out of our general purpose school fund, out of our unreserved fund balance. We could move all those back to our fund balance, or we could move these funds to additional projects that are currently ongoing. So the Sullivan North renovation project has a balance of $117,295. And I put a little description of each one of these projects behind all this to let you know what some of the things that happened in those projects. We had total expenditures in that project of $8,825,479. A school capital improvements project, that accounted for 5 smaller projects. It was the severe gym floor. We replaced the auxiliary gym and refinished the main gym. DBE life safety improvements, Palmer Center renovations, Dobyns-Bennett uninterruptible power source upgrade, and the Dobyns-Bennett Pridemore Theater seating project. The total of all those expenses in those projects was $1,272,178, and there's a balance remaining of $16,764. We had a school HVAC replacement project. That was to replace the HVAC systems at Johnson and Lincoln. The total expenditure there was $6,377,945, and there are $399,372 remaining. The Dobyns-Bennett Dome re-roof and renovations, total expenditures of $23,478,768 with a remaining balance of $402,761. Robinson gym floors, that again was replacing the auxiliary gym floor and refinishing the main gym floor, $127,000 spent, a balance of $31,800. A parking lot improvement project where we did some parking lot improvements to Jackson and to Palmer, and not only corrected some deficiencies there, but expanded the parking lot at Palmer Center. And also, you've probably noticed the new black fence that's around Palmer Center. That was funded out of this project too. That was a total expense of $541,033 and a remaining balance of $134,567. Now, the Washington HVAC replacement project. We've put money into the Washington HVAC replacement project out of our general purpose unreserved fund balance. If you'll recall, last year when we did the budget approval with the city, the city made a commitment at that time that they would fund that project, but they weren't going to fund it until they sold bonds this spring. So we funded it on the front end out of our general purpose budget. And they recently sold bonds and allocated $2.3 million to this project, which will cover the cost of it. So I've got in here that we have expenditures of $2,393,282. We actually won't spend that much money in this project because we have a purchase order to the architect for $240,000, and we know that we're not going to pay the architect that much money because it was based on a percentage of the construction cost, and the original construction cost was $4 million, and it's actually $1,998,000. So we're not going to pay the architect but about $120,000. So we'll be less than the $2.3 million. So there is a balance of $2,495,000 in that project that can be reallocated. And just for your information, Dr. True and I just came back from we have a bi-weekly construction progress meeting at Washington Elementary School, and I believe it was out of 26 units that are going to be replaced. 18 of them are replaced now, and they are on track to be, the project will be done before teachers return in July. So, and it's gone very smoothly. There's not been any hiccups in it. The administration and people at Washington are very pleased with the project. And then the Robinson Fire Alarm Project, we've allocated $400,000 to that project, and there again, the bids came in on that project very good, and there's $175,000 that we can reallocate to other projects. So, out of the $3,772,559 that is available in those 8 projects, we're recommending to put $252,761 into the Dobyns-Bennett renovation project. That will bring the total funding for that project up to $5,694,840, although that is not the cost of the current project that we're getting ready to undertake, because we have in that project, we've already funded projects for the pool renovations, We did a partial HVAC replacement in the band building. We did that last summer. The HVAC unit in the main room in there was out, so we replaced that unit. We replaced the wrestling mat in the athletic department, and the engineering fees for the replacement of the cooling tower was paid for out of this project. So after we make this appropriation, there will be about $3.4 million remaining in this project to be spent on the current renovations. The other project that I have on here is the Lynn Garden Elementary School. Right now, there's $3,576,000 allocated to this project, which includes $2.6 million in bond funds that the city just sold. So they just sold $2.3 million worth of bonds for the Washington HVAC project and $2.6 million to go into this Lynn Garden Elementary project. We're recommending that we add an additional $3,669,798 to bring the total funding up to $7,246,117. What that will pay for, the full $7.2 million, it will pay for all of the architect fees that are going to be associated with this project, which are going to be approaching $3 million. When you look at a $45 million project at a 5.5% architect fee, you know, that's a pretty good number. So it will fund all of that. We've already funded phase 1, which was the schematic design, and phase 2, which is the design and specifications for the demolition of the current building and the site work that is associated with getting the site ready to build. The next phase, which we'll bring to the board for, you haven't approved that phase of the architect agreement yet. We'll bring that at a later date. But that is to fund the detailed design of the building itself and the construction oversight. And so $2 million of the city bond money that they just sold was to fund that phase of the architect agreement.
Phase 2 was the demolition and site work, or was that part of phase 1?
There's 3 phases to the architect agreement. Phase 1 was the schematic design of the building and where to place the building, and the phase 2 was developing the specifications and the bid documents and the construction oversight for the demolition of the Lynn Garden Community Center and all of the site work that is associated in getting the site ready to build. We're working on that. That is scheduled to go out to bid in mid to late June, like maybe the 3rd week of June, and we're anticipating bringing that back to the board for approval in August.
For the actual work. I mean, what you're talking about is the architectural fees.
The architectural fees is what, and so that design work is ongoing now. And so the bids will be sent out in mid-June to come back to award the bid for that work to be done in August, and the work to be completed by next summer. I'm not sure at the exact date, by June or July of the next summer. Well, I guess by August, because right now it's anticipating that we're going to award a bid for the construction of the school at your August 27 meeting, with construction to start September 1st of 2027 to occupy the building in August of 29.
We're going to approve that, and then they're going to start construction the very next month. Shouldn't we have a little bit longer than that to look at it and pass it? I mean, I guess we'll have it opened.
Well, we will send the bids out in June of 27, and we'll open bids in late July of 27, and we'll bring back a recommendation to the Board of Education to approve the bid at your August meeting in 2027. And then we'll have 2 or 3 weeks for payment and performance bonds to be obtained by the contractor and to finalize the contract with the contractor and issue a notice to proceed work in early September.
Okay.
I have a question.
And this appropriation will put the money in place for all the architectural work for all that, and for $4 million for the demolition and site work that is getting ready to go out to bid.
Okay.
And that is estimated, the architects estimated on that total project that we're going to be bidding this summer is $4 million.
Okay, so my question is, and maybe I'm just, and I hope this is not a stupid question, but so you said a lot of these monies were actually from our general fund.
Yes.
And so now they're going to pay for architectural fees and site work for the new school. And so will there be a time when the city reimburses that?
So yes, I figured out where you were going.
Thank you. Does that scare you? That you're inside my brain? It's messy in there, isn't it?
So, of the total project cost that we will now have of $7,246,000, all of those funds, with the exception of $2.6 million, will have come from school fund money. And it is anticipated that, what is that? Subtract that off, 4.6 million dollars that we will have allocated from our school fund budget. It is anticipated that when the city sells bonds in the spring or summer or whenever that time frame is, that $4.6 million will be coming back to us, that they will fully fund this project when they do their big bond issue to fund this project. It has been a commitment from the city that they are going to fund the design and the construction, everything associated with this project. So that $4.6 million should be coming back to us.
Thank you.
So essentially, in this general project fund, I'm taking $3,772,559 of funding from projects, either closed or a couple of active projects, and moving those funds into the Dobyns-Bennett renovation and Lynn Garden Elementary School project, in addition to moving the $270,000 that we're moving out of our current operating budget. So I know that that is a lot of numbers in all of that general purpose fund amendment, federal projects fund amendment, school special projects fund amendment, and our general projects fund amendment. I would recommend that you approve the budget amendment. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Business item 5.4, the recommended action is to approve the budget amendment number 6 as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
So the next item I have for your consideration is the approval of the bid for the Dobyns-Bennett High School renovations. So we advertised for bids on April the 15th. We opened bids on May the 8th. And we got 5 bids. That was very encouraging that we got a number of bids. And we designed this package in such a way that the award of the bid was to be based upon the low base bid. And the low base bid came from Construction Partners in the amount of $2,840,000. The bids range from $2,840,000 to a high bid of $3,160,000. So they were all pretty close. We didn't have any, one real low and one real high. They were all pretty close. So that's always encouraging when you see all the bids very, fairly close. We had 9, really 10, because now there's 9A and 9B alternates on this project in this bid document. None of us really like to have those number of alternates, but we designed the scope of this project to do things that need to be done at Dobyns-Bennett. But when we got into that, then we have a fixed pot of money that we really needed to stay within a certain amount of money. Now, we've added a little bit of money to the project, but we just didn't need to. We knew we didn't have $5 million or $4 million to spend on this project. So thus we started saying, well, what can we identify as alternates? So you have the bid tabulation, and there are a number of alternates there. We didn't consider the cost of those alternates with the award of the bid. The award of the bid is we're recommending Construction Partners for the $2,840,000. But we're also recommending that we accept 4 of the alternates. Yes, sir.
Why are we recommending Construction Partners when you look at J.E. Green and all of their alternates? That's actually cheaper.
We specified in the bid document that the award of the bid would be based solely upon the low base bid. That we would not consider. Sometimes we do a bid that we will say we'll award the bid based upon the base bid and whatever combination of alternates we choose to accept. We were pretty confident that we were not going to be able to accept all of the alternates. So we told the contractors in the bid document that it was going to be based solely on the low base bid.
I understand that we said that's what their bid is based on, but we're not beholden to have to accept it.
Yes, we are.
So in the contract,
in the advertised bid document that we sent out to contractors, we said that we would award the bid based solely on low base bid. Now J.E. Green, if you add up all of their alternates, and add all 10 of the numbers, they may have the low bid, but we're not going to accept all these alternates. We don't have the money to accept all these alternates.
So why did we put the bid out like that? Why do we put in an RFP, why did we contractually obligate ourselves in the RFP? Usually you just put an RFP out and say, bid it, and then
Well, you have to identify in the bid document how you're going to evaluate and award the bids. You have to state that in the bid document so that the bidders know up front how the bid is going to be awarded.
Was there no way to write the RFP such as to leave wiggle room for us to accept it, including all the alternates?
But then are you obligated to do all the alternates?
Well, a lot of times we specify in the bid document that the award of bid will be based upon the low base bid and any combination of alternates that we choose to accept. We did not do that this time. We said it's going to be based solely on the low base bid.
Why didn't we do it the other way?
We just felt like it was advantageous that we do it this way. We didn't know, we knew, but we were very confident going in that the total of all these bids was probably going to be somewhere in excess of $1 million over the amount of money that we had to spend.
And I'll add that it really is closer than it looks, because bid number 4 for the company that won was off by $110,000. Mm-hmm. So that was actually $50,000, not $160,000. So you take that into account, it does bring it back with the the base bid that was accepted, even if we had taken all the alternates, that one would have still been less. We
Yes.
received that information.
Construction
late.
Partners came back to us after the fact, after the bids were open, and said, we found an error in our alternate number 4, that it was $100,000 too high. And they said, we will, if you choose to do alternate number 4, we'll do it for $60,000.
Okay. Do we have that in writing from them?
I'm pretty sure that the architect does.
Okay. Because I don't believe a contractor unless I got it in writing.
Well, I mean, that's, yeah.
No offense to any
he-
contractors.
He does. I mean, that was, I'm sure he got that in an email from them that said that, that they would honor alternate number 4 for $60,000. So we're recommending that we accept the low bid of Construction Partners, and we also accept alternate number 3 for $13,000, which is the demolition of all the porcelain drinking fountains, the demolition and removal of all the porcelain drinking fountains in the school, which, by the way, have been out of use since I think we determined before COVID. So those need to be removed. Alternate 5 is removing all the existing directional signs and replacing them with actual accurate signs, because the ones that there are out of date. I mean, they still reference as the science pod, and which is now the science building. So that is $30,000. We're also recommending the acceptance of alternate number 6, which is the removal and replacement of the room signage in the old science pod, or what's referred to as the annex. And in the memo from me, it says that alternate number 6 was $10,000, and after further conversations with the contractor, they have reduced that to $4,000. So that alternate has been reduced by $6,000. And alternate number 7, which is some additional painting of some walls and some soffits that was not included in the original base bid. And we've gone back and done some value engineering on that alternate, and the $26,000 alternate is now $14,801.
So you said 3, 5, 6, and 7, or did you?
3, 5, 6, and 7.
Yeah.
Yes. 3, 5, 6, and 7.
So they're still lower.
Mm-hmm.
So that makes the total base bid and the alternates that we are currently accepting a total of $2,901,801. The architect fee is $193,475. There's a 6% contingency on the $2.9 million of $174,108 for a total project cost of $3,269,384. There is currently in the project, not including that $120,000 that we put the $150 in, but I didn't include the $3,302,000, which this amount is $18,000, $18,668 under what we have in the project. Now, with the addition of the $120,000, which is the $20,000 from technology, the $20,000 from DB, the $80,000 from CIP and FF&E, we can add that to this $18,000, which gives us $138,000. So we know that alternate number 9A is important. It has to do with some technology wiring and a technology closet that needs to be added in the annex pod, and that has a price tag of $106,000. So It's not critical that we approve that at this point because that work is probably not going to occur until later this fall. So we'll see where our numbers are falling out, and we may be back to the board at a later date to add alternate number 9A. The timing on this project, and I'm sure you're aware of the scope of the project, but the timing on this project is this is going to replace all the floor covering in the old main DB building, including the art wing. So the social studies pod, the English pod, the math pod, and the art wing. It's going to replace all the carpet in those pods in hallways with LVT. The current floor surface that's on the ramp will be replaced with actually carpet tiles on those ramps. And then there's painting, and all the lockers that are associated in those pods, all those lockers that are associated or that are in those pods will be removed also. And there'll be some, where some of the lockers are along some of those walls, there'll be some standing height counters that are being put in for the students. All of that work, all the paint, all the floor removal and installation and painting and locker removal in those 3 pods and the art wing is scheduled to be completed before school starts. That's 125,000 square feet of carpet to be removed and LVT to be installed.
That's the necessity to get it approved.
In 2 months. We have a pre-construction meeting scheduled for Thursday morning. And we're on a fast track to get the agreement approved. So we can get work started hopefully right after Memorial Day. The work in the annex, in the old science pod, that pod will be closed down for the fall semester. And all of the construction work that is going to occur there will occur during the first semester with the completion date of the start of the second semester. And what's going to happen in that pod, essentially, and I wasn't even real familiar with this, and I went to school in the building. There's 4 mini pods in each one of those pods. And right now, there are 3 classrooms in each one of those mini pods. So in that science pod, there's 12 classrooms. We're gonna relocate the special ed department to one of those mini pods. And they'll have 4 classrooms. And the other 3 mini pods, those 3 classrooms in each one of those is going to be converted into 4 classrooms. Remember, this is the old science pod, which all of these rooms were science classrooms that included lecture and lab space. So there is enough room there to take 3 classrooms and make 4 classrooms. Now, that means we've got to tear some walls down and build some walls. So that's why it's going to be closed off for this fall semester. All that work will be is scheduled to be, and the completion date is at the start of the second semester. We will be moving the chorus classrooms that are located down below where the activities office is. And unless you go outside, there's really not ADA accessibility to those classrooms. There is if you go outside, but there's no elevator that goes down to those classrooms. We're going to move those classrooms to where special education currently is, which will solve any ADA access that we have for those, for that program.
And place them at the theater.
Yes.
So that they will be where they can.
Right.
So have we already, I mean, just looking over this, and I noticed the last sentence is that the recommendation is to enter an agreement with the construction partners in the amount of $2 million, blah, 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 and the contingency. Has the architect fee already been paid? Or are you asking for the whole $3,269,384?
Well, there is, that amount of money is in the project. The total project expense at this point is going
Oh,
to be.
okay. You're just asking for the agreement between us
We've already
and
awarded the agreement for the architect.
construction partners.
We
Okay.
awarded the
I
agreement
get
for
it.
the architect months
get it.
ago,
Okay,
the $193,475.
okay.
So really, all we're doing now is approving the award of the bid to construction partners and authorizing the 6% contingency.
Okay, got it.
And I didn't mention this, we've not, and I've never worked, in all the years that I've been here, I've never worked with construction partners. But they did the renovation of the current City Hall building, and the architect has got 2 or 3 projects ongoing with them right now, and has previously worked with them, and they're satisfied, and they've always done a good job for them. So he's recommending that we accept, that based on his experience and the dollar amount, that we accept the low bid from construction partners.
Any Bacon Davis wages in here?
Nope. No federal money.
Good.
No federal money.
Awesome.
Yep.
Like that. I never forgot about that.
No federal funds.
Any other questions, discussion? All right. Business item 5.5, the recommended action is to award the bid for Dobyns-Bennett High School Select Renovations Phase 1 project, including alternates 3, 5, 6, and 7, to construction partners in the amount of $2,901,801 for total construction cost, a 6% contingency in the amount of $174,108 for a total cost of $3,269,384. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion.
Second.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Last one.
So, one final item. The approval of the fiscal year 26-27 budgets for Kingsport City Schools. We have 4 funds that that the board oversees: the general purpose school operating budget, the federal programs budget, the school special projects budget, and the school nutrition services budget, with the bulk of the funding in the general purpose school fund budget. The presentation that I have for the board is a modified presentation of what you saw on April the 28th, I believe it was. So I'm not going to go through a lot of these slides in detail. I'll just kind of point out some of the changes. In that presentation on April the 28th, the presentation was based upon our March estimate for TISA funding, our state funding. I also told you that night that an hour before the meeting, we got our April allocation, which went down. This slide here shows that our total TISA funding, which includes state and local funding from the state, is $73,091,976. That number is $199 more than what our March allocation was. But our amount of TISA funding actually went down about $140,000. So the next slide shows you that our base funding from TISA is now $7,530 per student, which was an increase of $235 per student. And then on the next slide, some of these numbers changed up or down a little bit, but if you look at the bottom numbers where it's got total and local and state, like I said, the total number increased $199. But the local portion also went up $141,012. So what happened is that the total amount of funding that TISA generated statewide went up, which means other school systems generated more dollars. We didn't generate any more dollars. But when the total allocation at the state level went up several million dollars, then you take 30% of that, and that's what the local school systems have to pay, which means our local share went up. And when our local share goes up and our total didn't, that means what we get from the state goes down. So we're seeing a decrease of $140,000 in TISA money from what I had previously presented to the board. The next slide shows that the state also included $125 million of new money into the TISA formula, which is built into that base $7,530. And that's shared amongst all school systems, and that is to bring the minimum teacher salary in the state of Tennessee up to $50,000. So this 27, the minimum teacher salary in the state of Tennessee is $50,000. All systems are required to have that minimum this next school year. We're required of this $125 million to spend $964,888 on teacher salary improvements. And that can be a combination of step increases and cost of living increases. We talked about economically disadvantaged and how the rules have changed on who qualifies for economically disadvantaged, and that we're being held harmless at the state level to where we're not seeing a reduction in funding. And I also know that at the state level, they are doing, I think TASER has been charged with looking at the ED component of this formula and coming up with a recommendation to this TISA formula, because this change in how you qualify economically disadvantaged not only affects us, but it affects the majority of school systems across the state. So the legislature has tasked TASER to come up with a change in how this component of the formula works, so that they don't have to continue to hold people harmless, to hold school systems harmless in perpetuity to overcome this problem. We talked about the change in how we do our Title I application, in that the number of students that are now qualified for concentrated poverty has increased by $3,600. By now, all of our schools qualify for concentrated poverty except for John Adams. And what that means is that all of our schools, when you use this 1.6 multiplier, all of our schools are Title I eligible. Doesn't mean we have to spend Title I monies at those schools, but they are all eligible. And what happened here is that Dobyns-Bennett and Robinson and I believe Jefferson became qualified as concentrated poverty, thus the increase of the 3,600 students. So that was about $1 million increase, $988,000 increase in our state funding for this concentrated poverty. Now that's a boost that we're getting this year. We will not see a boost. We won't lose this money, but we won't see a gain like this in our 28 TISA monies. So a total, again, this is the April estimate at this point. It will change with the May estimate, and it will change with the final estimate. I hope it doesn't change another $140,000. I hope that And the reason that it changed is that other school systems, their ADM, their number of students that they had reported to the state previously, they went back and made adjustments to. And they increased their enrollment. They found errors in their reporting, which increased their ADMs, which increased the total total pot of state money. And ours didn't change. Our numbers were accurate. So will this number change? Yes. I hope it doesn't change more than $25,000 plus or minus. That is a total increase of $2,675,100 from the previous year. A lot of that had to do with the concentrated poverty, and a lot of it had to do with $988,000 or $964,000 for teacher salary improvements. I've also included in the budget a couple of other line items that I didn't have in here on our initial presentation. I've gone ahead and included in this budget $900,000 for next year's summer learning program. You know, you just amended the 26 budget by $895,000. We shouldn't have to do that again this time next year, because I'm going ahead and including, I don't know what the number's going to be. It will probably be around $895,000, $900,000. So hopefully we've already got the money in this budget for next year's summer program. And we also are receiving into our general purpose budget this year, $20,000 of funding from Jobs for America graduates, or the JAG program, which will fund 25% of a teaching position that was previously funded with Innovative School Model Grant funds. So the other big change, and really the big change from other than the $140,000 TISA money, which was a negative change, this one's a positive change. We now have our WFTE ADA numbers, which is our average daily attendance numbers from the state, and they distributed this to all the school systems in the state of Tennessee. But this is how we distribute our county revenues. So our county property taxes and our county sales taxes, our county local option sales tax, are distributed amongst the 4 school systems in Sullivan County and the 3 school systems in Hawkins County, based upon each school system's percentage of number of students that attend the schools in those counties. Our fiscal year 25 ADA percentage number in Sullivan County was 36.57. That has increased to 37%. So it's a 0.43% increase. Our number of students went slightly up. Sullivan County's went more than slightly down, which increases our percentage. And based upon the amount of property taxes, or the amount of total funding that we get from Sullivan County of about $30 million, a 0.43% increase represents about $350,000 in additional monies coming to Kingsport City Schools.
County actually gave us money, huh?
The state is requiring them to give us money. This, I know, I understand.
They did it begrudgingly.
And actually, there is no more money that comes out of Sullivan County out of their, this is a redistribution of current money. So we're gaining, Sullivan County is losing. I mean, the money's coming, they're withholding money from Sullivan County and giving it to Kingsport. And a little bit, I can't recall right off, Bristol's changed a little bit. Hawkins County was the same thing. It went from 6.66% to 6.94%, and we get about a total of $1,150,000 from Hawkins County. that represents about a $50,000 increase. So there's close to about a $400,000 increase in revenues since I presented this to the board on April the 28th.
One little sidebar. I read in an article today about some folks who are running for state positions, and one candidate had stated, and I think we mentioned last meeting, that we're 51 out of 51 currently in per pupil funding. That includes the District of Columbia. So, and I think it was mentioned that would like to get that up to 12th to 15th or something like that. So just a rough calculation, that would only require for about 900,000 students across the state, $5.8 billion increase. So hopefully that'll come next year. We'll be in the top 12 or 15 versus 51. It's only 5.8 billion with a B.
So if I'm not mistaken, if you'll recall, when they first came out with TISA, when they changed from BEP to TISA, that first year the state invested an additional $1 billion. You're talking about 5 times that.
6.
Well.
5.8, so yeah. I mean, what's another billion,
Yeah.
I mean,
so,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, we can just remember that if our goal is to be in the top 12 or 15, and there was some conversation around because some of our friends on the other end of the state are having some issues. And there are some great people on the other end of the state. There are some great educators on the other end of the state. But there are some issues in those schools. And the statement was made that if the state takes over those schools, then our funding would go up to, 12 or 15 or something like that. And just so our listening audience realizes, that has nothing to do with per pupil funding. If the state unless they're going to give that $3 billion that goes to that school district and spread it across the rest of the state, that will not affect our per pupil funding at all. It might affect our ranking as far as proficiency goes or growth, but it has nothing to do with funding. So just there's a very clear distinction there that if the state ends up taking those schools over, and that's not my battle to fight, it has nothing to do with our funding.
Isn't our governor up for grabs? We should ask some of those candidates where they stand on this position. This is the only time you get money out of politicians is when there's an election year.
Okay. So our property tax estimate from the counties is 2 counties, Hawkins and Sullivan. I've got it $15,213,000. I've estimated an increase of 1% in the assessed value, and that is a $213,000 increase over the estimate from FY26. $195,000 up from the April 28th presentation. I've estimated our local option sales tax at $16,267,000. That's up $192,000 from the presentation 2 weeks ago, $667,000 more than the current year estimate. And I've based that on a 2% growth in sales tax. A lot of times we've traditionally done 3%, but I'm just not comfortable going 3%. So that's our county revenues. We have 3 main sources of revenue: our state, county, and our local, and county being broken up into property and sales tax. So in the current year budget, we appropriated $2,372,400 of fund balance monies to balance recurring expenses in this budget. That's $2.3 million of revenue reduction that we will not have going into FY27. Those were one-time monies, non-recurring monies. We appropriated them one time, and And that was that. There was also $631,000 funded for a one-time bonus, but that's a wash. So we'll look at the expenditures in a minute, but right now, to fund the expenditures that we have recommended, we need, in order to balance the budget, we need to appropriate $1,808,500 from our current fund balance to fund recurring expenses for the 26-27 budget. There again, these are one-time monies that we're having to use to fund recurring expenses. So we'll be starting out the 27-28 budget $1.8 million in the hole. So, but to let you know where our fund balance is, we ended the year last year with $13,680,000. We've taken $7,160,000 out, leaving $6,519,709. Once we take $1,808,500 out, that's going to leave us with $4,711,209, which is 4.4% of the FY27 operating budget. Now, the state won't approve a budget unless there's some special circumstances if your fund balance is below 3%. But we're at the 4.4% level. I do expect that as a result of this year's operations, we will add to that fund balance. I mean, in 30 years that I've been doing this, maybe once we did not add to our fund balance. But we traditionally add a few $100,000, maybe a couple of $1 million to our fund balance. You know, with $100 million or slightly more than $100 million budget, if we come in 2%, if our expenditures are 2% less than our budget, that's $2 million. I don't know of any revenue sources. We're not going to be over any of our revenue sources substantially. We're not going to have an excess of $1.5 million in property taxes or an excess of $1 million in sales tax. But we will be under budget. I mean, I'm confident that, so we should add to this $4.7 million. So that's where $1,808,500 out of fund balance. City funding, I have at $11,245,300 for operations. That's the same as the FY26 allocation. That is the same as the FY20 allocation. It's been that same allocation for a number of years. There is an increase in debt service, the amount of money that we get from the city for debt service of $624,700. And basically that is now paying the new debt that they sold for the Dobyns-Bennett dome renovations, which was a little over $20 million. So on the expenditure side, we need to fund a 1% cost of living increase at a bare minimum. The reason being is that that's what it's going to take for us to spend money on teacher salary improvements in order to spend that $964,000 of earmarked state money that we have to spend on teacher salary improvements. So the step increases, so on the next slide, the total for certified pay increases, $660,000 for step increases, $560,000 for a 1% cost of living, for a total of $1,220,000. But only $1,050,000 of that counts towards these teacher salary improvements. Included in these numbers are nursing salaries, which they're paid up on a similar teacher pay scale, is why I've got them included in there. And there's administrative certified salaries in this. And those two things don't count toward the teacher salary improvements. So we're at $1,050,000, which is about $85,000 above the required minimum for teacher salary improvements. So that's why we need to do a 1% cost of living increase. I didn't want to recommend that we do a 0.85% increase. So classified pay increases, we have the step increases of 2%, $257,000, 1% cost of living for $133,000, total $390,000. Total pay increases for everybody, $1,610,000. Of that amount, $917,000 is for step increases for all employees. $693,000 is what the 1% cost of living costs for all employees. Now, we talked about, I think, a little bit at the last meeting about the high-performing LEA schools bonus money, which we have already been told that we're getting $1,214,000, which is our pro rata share of a $2 million allocation that we are supposed to get if it were fully funded. At a meeting I was at last week, it was told that included in the legislative approval was a supplemental appropriation to this year's budget to fully fund the difference between the $17 million that was originally allocated and the $28 million that it takes to fully fund that program, that was funded and that is on the governor's desk to be signed. And once he signs that and they go through their administrative processes, that additional $886,000 will be coming to Kingsport City Schools. So we will get our full $2 million for the LEA High Performing Schools bonus.
So are you saying the governor hasn't signed the budget yet, the approved budget?
Well, he hadn't signed that particular bill. My understanding now he may have signed it now. This was at a meeting I was at last week, and they were, as they were going through those bills, it was like, this one's on the governor's desk to be signed, this one's on the governor's desk to be signed. I mean, it's, you know, the session was just over 2 or 3 weeks ago, so it's just a matter of time. So it's just a formality.
And it was the governor's recommendation.
Yes. Yeah, it was the governor's recommendation to do that. I mean, I don't know of anything that is laying there he's going to veto. So I point out that the $693,000 is a 1% cost of living increase. And if you were to multiply that $693,000 times 3, you get $2,079,000, which is pretty close to the $2 million. So we may be back at a later date. I'm going to allow this $2 million to close into fund balance. So I know that there's $2 million going into fund balance. But we may be back at a later date to recommend to the board that we fund a one-time bonus for all of our employees. Well, 3 times $693,000 is $2,079,000, and the bonus money that we're getting from the state is $2 million. So those are pretty close.
Our school level staff earn that bonus.
Yes.
So they're earning those dollars.
So how you qualify for that high-performing LEAs is that more than half of your schools get a letter grade of A, and more than half of ours did. And for a school system with 11 to 20 schools, I think it is, the allocation is $2 million. So with this slide, you've pretty much seen before. There was a couple of minor changes on it. We're funding a few new positions, mainly special ed, a special ed pre-K teacher, a special ed teacher, and a special ed assistant, a special ed health assistant. This is the FY26 is the last year of the ISM grant. There's a half of a CTE associate principal that has been funded with that grant, and we're going to pick up that other half and fund that in this budget. We're going to, this next one, the 0.25% of the CTE teacher, that goes along with that JAG money I talked about a minute ago. We've got an additional $20,000. I had to up that number from 10 to 20 for additional days for our health assistants, to put them on the same number of days as our school nurses, so that all of our nurses can have the same professional development. We had 6 or 7 of these health assistants that just weren't getting when nurses were coming in for in-service and professional development, these nurses weren't coming in. They're all RNs, so they all needed that. We've also, this is not a budget item that adds to the budget or takes away from the budget, but we had the ISM grant, as I mentioned, is gone away. In that grant, there were 2 full-time equivalent teaching positions in the middle school career exploration programs that are being reduced. We're having to eliminate those two positions out of the budget. When you approve this budget, you're approving the reduction of those 2 career exploration positions at the middle school. I think there was a total of 6 positions. 4 of them were funded out of our general purpose budget, and 2 of them were funded out of the ISM grant. And we just don't have the additional funds to pick those 2 positions up in next year's budget.
Will that result in layoffs?
They have been reassigned. The positions, the career exploration positions, have been reduced, but those individuals have been offered and accepted other positions.
Because those are curriculum positions, aren't they? Those are classes. Like, I think my son's in one of them. So that's going away completely?
No, we've repurposed really the 6 into 4, and so we have made a more efficient process to continue those programs, and then the 2 teachers are going back to academic schedules.
Okay. Thank you.
Some of these next slides haven't changed. A 10% health insurance increase, $550,000. Retirement and classified retirement increases, a total. Well, then retiree health insurance, another $120,000 on that. On top of that, classified retirement, $91,000. Teacher retirement increase, $171,000, and increases to our coaching supplements, just because of the 1% cost of living increase and the step increases that are built into the coaching supplement scale. And we also pay some monies in there for coaching for extended seasons, when the basketball team, the baseball team, the football team go to additional weeks. They get paid additional monies. And with the success of our sports programs, I needed to add some additional money to pay those additional monies, because it's not just if you make it to the playoffs or to the regional, you get an extra X. If you get to the regional, you get an extra week. If you get to the sub-state, an extra week. If you get to the state, an extra week. If you win a state championship, you get a little bit more money. So $89,800 for that. Then some inflationary changes and some other cost savings in our budget. You're aware of the increases in our technology budget, what we had to additional appropriation to purchase Chromebooks this year. Teacher laptops are increasing. So $338,000 in our technology budget. That also includes some additional money for the Parent Square. That was over School Messenger. That was a $40,000 increase, which I think everybody feels is well worth the money. Vehicle maintenance charges, additional $210,000. That's what we're charged by the city of Kingsport when our maintenance vehicles go to fleet to have the oil changed, the brakes replaced, and to buy gasoline. Bank service charges, There was also an increase of $100,000 that the city is now allocating interest to us, but they're also charging us the service charge that goes along with that. But it's a net gain of $75,000. We had some discussion previously about the pre-K program, so we need to add additional $10,000 to the VPK and also to the Transition School to Work grant. Those are local monies that we're having to subsidize those state dollars for those programs. We redid some of our contracts with our internet and our phone, which results in some savings. And we're also not going to spend as much on E-rate next year, $210,000. And then what we're being charged from the city, and as a result of what they're being charged for their liability insurance and building insurance and workers' comp and so forth, that's a reduction of $153,000. So it's a net increase of $230,000. Total general purpose school fund budget of $107,663,100, which is a $2,660,800 increase over the current year budget, which is a 2.5% increase. School nutrition. Total budget of $6,048,200. This includes $128,000 to fund a market adjustment pay increase of one pay grade for all the school-based SNS employees. So most of our school nutrition workers are on pay grade A, which is our minimum pay grade. We're moving them to a pay grade B. This will help bring these wages more in line with wages being paid by other school systems. And there is, and just to let you know, there's a 7.5% difference between each pay grade. We've compared ourselves with Sullivan County, with Bristol, with Johnson City, with Washington County, with Hawkins County. And I think we might be higher than one of those school systems. And
with this raise or now?
Now. Okay. And with this raise, we might be higher than 2 or 3. But there are still, our school nutrition workers will not be making the same entry-level pay as a school nutrition worker in Sullivan County, even with this pay increase. So, I mean, we just feel it's necessary to compensate those people. The budget also, this $6,048,000 also includes a $200,000 appropriation from their fund balance to fund the replacement of the walk-in cooler freezer at Robinson Middle School. That's a one-time capital expenditure. Other than that, it's a balanced budget, including covering the pay increase. If you'll recall, we were having a very different conversation this time last year. And we are still continuing in the community eligibility program where all of our students will eat the basic breakfast and lunch at no charge at all of our schools. Our federal projects fund budget, there are 2 major grants in this budget. Title I, $2.4 million, a little bit more than that. You can see some of the smaller grants. Title II, which is professional development and staff retention, $534,000. The IDEA Part B Special Education Grant, $1,776,000. The Transition School to Work Grant, $364,000. The Carl Perkins Vocational Grant, $140,094, which brings the total of that fund to $6,047,748. Now, we don't know, like, for example, the Title I allocation, the IDEA allocation, those are amounts that we've been told you need to budget and file your budget for next year based upon what you're getting this year. We don't know what our final allocations are. That's why I do that budget amendment that we just did, that I'll do again next May. The school special projects budget, total of $1,261,915. ETSU Gear Up grant is a new grant that we just got, which is a continuing $122,835 for the next several years that we'll be getting that same amount of money. State preschool grant. This is the voluntary pre-K program. This is not a special ed grant. $838,825, which we are also putting in $150,000 of local money into that program. That's another thing that the legislature has done also, is that they have tasked, I don't know if it's a specific group of people or just the Department of Education, to study what school systems are spending on pre-K education, not just regular pre-K like this preschool grant, but also special education pre-K, to just see, there's been legislative brought to the General Assembly to increase special education pre-K funding, which is gone through and been real positive until it comes to the fiscal note that gets attached to it. So it's been there for the past couple of years, but there's not been any money come out of it. But they have tasked, I think, the Department of Education to look into that, to see what local school systems like Kingsport are spending on these programs out of money that they're not getting from the state or the federal government. And then we have the special ed preschool grant of $226,000. Total of $1,261,915. So all four funds, a total of $121,020,963. A little over $3.2 million increase from the current year, which is about a 2.7% increase. So I've said a whole lot, and I'd recommend that the board approve these four funds totaling $121,020,963. But I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody else? Any questions?
Again, probably all year I sing his praises, but the last 2 hours really are great. I didn't say that in jest, but truthfully, the last 2 hours is representative of exponentially more hours that are invested into this process and the management of the funds that support the learning for our students. And I can't imagine anyone doing it better and more faithfully than what Mr. Fry does. So I certainly commend him for carrying our school system in this area.
Yeah, thank you.
It's the largest budget.
If you're, that's very good. Sit right there. If you remember when we got the $17 million in ESSER money, that bumped it. This is the largest regular recurring operating budget.
Non-ESSER, non-bond.
Yes.
When we built DB's
Yes.
expansion, it was like $120 million.
Right. Yeah, this is the largest regular operating budget. And I met with Jennifer Walker this morning and Andrea Ball from School Nutrition, and the $6 million school nutrition budget is the largest budget that we've ever. It hit the $6 million mark for the first time. So yeah, I can't remember what the first one was. It might have been 30 or 40 million.
Oh, the first budget.
That I did in 1992.
That was just the other day, man.
Any other questions? Okay. The recommended action is to approve the fiscal year 26-27 Kingsport City Schools budget as presented. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, thank you,
Thank you,
honestly.
Mr.
I mean, we joke a little bit, but I mean, we are so grateful.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It was for
Measure.
4-0.
Miss Jackson? Miss Jackson has something to share with us.
Yes,
before-
I'd love to wrap up the evening with a really good, feel-good story. And I can't see over the podium, but if Jim Nash is here, I have a really sweet story that a family called and told me today that yesterday, many of you won't know this, but a little girl went missing after school. So an aunt was listening for the bus, never heard the bus, went outside to check and found the little girl's backpack in the driveway and no little girl. So she immediately calls mom at work. Mom panics. She can't get a hold of the school because it's end of the day. Can't get a hold of transportation. She was like, I don't even know if I was dialing the right numbers. So I just went on the website and just scrolled down and found Mr. Nash's number and called him, and he answered. And the first thing he said was, I'll help you. And he got on the phone right away, checking with transportation. She was dropped off. Checking with the principal, I think it's Dr. Harrell and Dr. Marshall. They jumped into gear, checked in with the teacher. Teacher overheard a conversation, and all of that led to them finding the little girl at a house down the street where she was not supposed to be, which little girls can do. But what a great story of our administration caring about every single student. And knowing them by name, knowing the principals, knowing the teachers, and immediately knowing how to handle these situations. Of course, Mr. Nash is in charge of safety overall, and just that process, immediately finding her within an hour. I think it was actually maybe even within 40 minutes of them discovering that she did not go straight into the house. So elementary school, young lady, so she's safe and sound, and our school did the right thing. And this mother really wanted me to shout out our school system in general, and how well and how supported she felt in a moment of crisis. So just wanted to end on a really great note.
Thank you, Jamie. Just a reminder about Dr. Hampton, before the meetings, did you have anything?
If I may, I'll be considerably more brief than what I was intending to be due to the time. But since this is our last meeting prior to the end of the school year officially, and for those perhaps a reminder for people to mark their calendars for next Friday night, which is the graduation of the class of 2026, and that will signify the official end of our school year. Just to our board, to our district level departments, staff members, but especially to our school leadership, teachers, and all levels of support that go into our schools, and the learning that is a result of that. Just want to thank everyone for a remarkable year. If we go back and look at the things that we have recognized, the achievements that we have recognized since last July, has been quite remarkable. Records for scholarships, and the students we recognize. It was just a few hours ago, but it seemed like days ago. Those students who are getting degrees and earning college credits, and doing remarkable things. And during the meeting, we got the notification that another year of recognition for our ROTC program, that a program of distinction. And that's 18 years in a row for that program. Our work-based learning, all the different things. Dr. Tate shared with me also during the meeting that we have 51 students in the class of 26 who have an unweighted grade point average of 4.0. 51 who have an unweighted average. That's a little more than 10% of the class. 154 have a weighted grade point average of 4.0 or higher. So that's almost a fourth of the class, which means that those kids are taking rigorous coursework that would elevate them to that point. 25% of a class. That is what public education can get for you folks. For those who might still be listening, our public education done right. That's what it looks like. And so I just didn't want this opportunity to pass without saying thank you to everyone who makes that happen, and our families in our school community who contribute significantly so that their children that they're sending from home are successful. So congratulations to those individuals. Also want to wish best wishes to our athletic teams that are still participating. Baseball has an very critical 2 days coming up in the sectional meet at Oak Ridge tomorrow and Thursday. We have about a dozen and a half track students from Dobyns-Bennett competing in the state tournament next week. Emery, who presented to us earlier today, will be making his fourth attempt in fourth state tournament in 4 years. That appearance tomorrow. Our Robinson softball team is competing in the middle school TMSSA state tournament, which they're one of 4 middle school teams to have that honor. And then both Robinson and Sevier have a significant number of students participating in the state track meet starting next Monday. So best wishes to those students as they're rounding out their school years and our school year, and just thanks to everyone who makes this school system what it is. Thank you for the reminder. Our unified track team won their 3rd sectional tournament in a row yesterday, and will be competing in their third state tournament in a row. And by the way, we've only had a unified track team for 3 years. So to Coach Good and all of those who support those efforts, it's, you know, just remarkable things for every student in our school system. So 2025-26 has been a stellar edition of Kingsport City Schools.
Thank you. Just a reminder of our meeting schedule. There's no business meeting, or excuse me, no work session for the month of May or June, which will leave us with a regular business meeting June the 9th, July 14th, with a July work session on the 28th, and our August monthly business meeting on the 11th. So, all right.
Slow down.
That's all. We're adjourned. Roll Tribe.
Roll Tribe.